raising of hands, who knows what the term crowdsourcing means? And crowdfunding? Okay. And who knows what, we've spoken about Kickstarter. Who knows what Kickstarter does? Okay, you're probably the most knowledgeable audience I've spoken to. So, do I need to say anything? No. In essence, I used this phrase the other day. You know, when the French Revolution happened, there's a thing called, they said the motto they used was égalité. What's it? Égalité. What is it? Yeah. Liberté, égalité, fraternité, which translates into liberty, equality, and, in essence, brotherhood. And that is the basis of what crowdsourcing and crowdfunding is all about. It is the democratization of the starting of new enterprises and the realization of new ideas. And that's what inspires me. Just to give you an idea as to how I got to crowdfunding and what is in essence now going to be thunderfund.com. That's thunder with an A, not an ER. I started in the world of social enterprise. The first organization I started was an organization called Streetwires. And that was moving into 1994, looking at where things are at, trying to figure out how we could create a better South Africa. And I looked at, we talk about, many of you have heard McKenna McKerker talk. And we're working very much the same space there, trying to figure out how to bring things that make business sense together with things that made social sense into stuff that was going to be sustainable. So Streetwise was born from getting to know some of the guys who make wire art on the side of the street. And just saying, look, these guys have incredible talent. They have some good design as well. But just thinking that someone is a fantastic designer because they make stuff, we all know is not true. So bringing designers together with people who have fantastic skills, that was a way that I saw we could create jobs and push the creative edge in terms of design in South Africa. From there, that grew, that went very nicely. Then I started another project called the Indalo Project. And that was all about saying, well, hang on, if we can do this in one organization, surely we can do it with a whole bunch of organizations. So there, we brought in some funders to work with designers who then worked with small-scale producers to help them make their products better on a much wider scale. And we've had a couple of launches now at Design and Durban and overseas as well. And that's also gone very nicely. But one of the things I saw again and again, and this is an area that we all know is so difficult, is when you're wanting to start something up, what is the first thing that you've got to figure out once you've got your idea? Cash. Yeah. Yeah. And when you've got it, it's fantastic. When you don't, it's kind of miserable. As you spoke about the lentils just now. They might be nutritious, but a steak. Much better. I was born in Zimbabwe. I grew up with meat, and my systems made me as an omnivore, so there we go. Even though I do own an organic deli, but that's because I believe in sustainable living as well. And that's another story. But basically, we say one of the major things we need is when we start up, we've got fantastic ideas. What does it mean, especially within the creative field? You're approaching funders, you're approaching banks, you go there, you say, I've got it, this is great. And they look at you and they go, sorry, you don't have a credit record, or you don't have an idea that really fits with what we're looking to do. So you're constantly the little guy speaking to the big guy who sits there at the desk, no longer smokes a cigar, but you can picture him smoking a cigar, if he had one. And it's a very difficult space. Now, leading from that, I also recognize that having built up a number of organizations from startup in the creative sphere and other spheres, I've also got a little publishing company, it was not just the cash that you needed. I recognized very early on that it was also the skills to actually run a business that was often lacking. And again, you might be fantastic in one area, but in other areas you might struggle a bit. So those two areas I figured out were very important to grow enterprises. Then about 3 years ago, I met a guy called Michael Norton. Many of you know of him. He's run an organization called Unlimited. It's in the UK. He is one of the pioneers of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. he believes he believes in the power of communities and what we in essence call people power, people coming together to support new ideas. I started chatting to him about the potential of what we could do in South Africa, because I began to recognize that with the new technologies that were becoming to be more pervasive, there were ways that in essence you could network to have an idea created. And it all began to kind of boil inside as these creative ideas do. I began to say, this is something that we can do in South Africa and we can do well. But you know, one thinks you've got a great idea and you're humming about it. People are already doing it across the world. And there's guys who do it old school. There's a guy called Tim Green. Any of you know him? Yeah. There's Kim Hawk, who've been working together and building Thunder Fund. Showed me a picture of Tim. He was standing there with a billboard. This thing here saying, I need 1,000 people to invest 1,000 Rand to help me film my movie. And that's what he did. He crowdfunded old school way, standing on the street with a billboard, emailing. Okay, that email's now old school. And basically just accessing his friends' family networks. And you know what? He did it. He raised $1 million to make that movie from 1,000 people. It's absolutely phenomenal. But it took him 2 years. To give you an idea of a phenomenal success on Kickstarter, you know, we just heard Kickstarter, and for those who don't know how Kickstarter works, I'll explain just now. But there's something called the Pebble Watch that's come out recently. You guys heard of the Pebble Watch? Okay, well, it's the kind of thing that goes like, no way. These guys, 5 guys in their 20s, had this fantastic idea. You know, they basically, the one guy was a cyclist, and you know, I don't know why you'd be doing it, but he's riding on his bike. He wants to check his cell phone. Only in America. And I think that's what the investors thought as well, actually. Because they were a couple of months in, they'd spent their cash, they were running low, and they'd just spoken to scores of different investors, and people just went, no, no, no. However they might say no. Jamie. And they were pretty much at the wit's end. They thought, let's try this Kickstarter thing. It sounds interesting. So to give you an idea of how Kickstarter works, I'll use them as an example. And Kickstarter is a model on which Thunder Fund is actually based in terms of your basic principles of operation. They said, okay, tell you what, we want to raise $100,000 to take this thing from concept to actually when we can start manufacturing. We've got a great idea. It's a watch. The watch, what the watch does is it allows you to check your email, see SMSs coming in, see what weather reports are and stuff with your iPhone in your pocket. Connects via Bluetooth, as you said, only in the States. And they thought it was really cool. So they said, look, basically, if you invest $500 in me, then you'll get 1 watch. If you invest $1,000 in me, you'll get 2 watches. If you invest 5,000, you'll get 6 watches, plus you'll get one of your names on our wall of fame, and you'll get your name engraved on the back. If you invest at 20,000, we'll actually name one of the watches after you. That kind of thing. So what they're doing is they're offering in-kind returns for your investment up front. Basically, they launched it 60-day window period for this campaign to run. I think it was within the first 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken, they hit their target. They thought this was fantastic. That's $100,000 raised in 2 hours. By the end of the day, in which time they're getting really excited, they raised $600,000. They then went out, understandably, to have a bit of a drink and pop the champagne and spend a bit of that 600,000, and came back the next day and had gone into the millions. By the end of that month, they'd raised $4.7 million. By the time they closed their campaign, they'd reached over $10 million, selling 68,000 watches. You can bet there's some investors going, huh? Wish I was involved in that. What it showed is the power of the crowd. Now, That is, in essence, what I think we should be doing in South Africa, and I think it has phenomenal, phenomenal potential. Having used that example, I'm going to chat to you first about how crowdsourcing and crowdfunding fit together. Now, crowdsourcing is basically a whole bunch of people coming together to invest in an idea, whether it's in research, whether it's in a product, whether it's actually in raising cash. Now, there's some very interesting examples that I'd just like to give you on a more general note in South Africa, which I think you should look at it because there's amazing stuff happening here. There's a bunch called Spring Leap. Have you heard of them? Yeah. Iran. They are doing phenomenal stuff. And in essence, what I love about it is, in terms of the creative world, it's opening it right up. You can be someone based in South Africa. Someone puts a thing on Spring Leap. They happen to be based in New York. You can actually bid for that work. Someone in India can do the same thing for a project that's happening in South Africa. You know, someone wants a logo designed. Someone in the UK can do it, or someone in Russia for that matter. I think they are going to, that model is revolutionizing how we work as creatives. On the one side, it allows people from anywhere in the world to bid for the work, but on the other side, it allows you as someone who's wanting to employ a creative to access a much wider net of people. So it's moving away from the idea that you will speak to one agency and say, okay, we're going to work with you an idea, we're going to start here, we're going to get to there. You say, you know, hang on, I don't know how, you know, you've got a great portfolio, but you know, I'm not sure how we're actually going to work together, or you know, how you're going to interpret my brand. You put it out there on something like Spring Leap. You say, this is what I'm looking for. You put the brief together, and this is what I'm prepared to pay. Let's say 5,000 US. You get 300 different proposals coming in. Each person has the opportunity to punt for your work. So it's an incredible way of actually getting the best that you can. There is a movement against that. I was listening to a guy a week ago from the States, which is called the anti-spec movement. Also recognizing that sometimes that doesn't work so well when actually you're doing all this work for free and you're not actually getting paid for it. So that's something to be aware of in that space, is only punt for the things that you feel you can actually, you've got a good chance of getting. Then there's another bunch called City Mob. Have you heard of them? Yeah. Okay, they're awesome. Luke Jedalik. Judaican, that too, yeah. It's even these, I get confused. What they've done is they've turned it around and they've said, look, we're going to crowdsource, in essence, both on the product side and on the potential customer side. And they've created a contained space. It's moving away from the whole idea of Facebook where anyone can register into space where you have pods of people who have, let's say, restricted access. It's another great model to look at because it allows, on the one side, the small guys, designers. You might have, what they do is they do flash sales. So for 1 week, they will have a designer or a product which is on a flash sale, and there'll only be a limited number, let's say 100. You come in, they're at a really good price, you buy them, and you know, it's you and a very limited number of people who can actually get access to that. The beauty of that is that it allows you to test ideas. So let's say you've got a fantastic idea for a new chair, or a new felt angel, or a new app for that matter. You put it out there as a large company, and you say, look, we'll put 100 of these there, and just see how people respond. If it sells out in 2 hours, you know you're onto a good thing. If at the end of the week there's only 3 that have been sold, you know to shelve it. It is a fantastic testing model. But now moving on to crowdfunding in itself and the space where we operate. Crowdfunding is a place that allows you to try new ideas without having upfront investment. So as a designer, if you want to, let's say again, you want to create a book, or you want to put on a play, or you want to create a new product like that watch we spoke about. Normally it means you've got to go to an investor, raise the cash, test it, and at the end of it, you don't even know if it's going to sell. The beauty of crowdfunding is you say, look, this is my idea. I'm going to put on ThunderFund, I'm going to put together a profile as to what the product is, who I am, what I'm going to do with it. This is my budget. A little video as to why you should invest in me. It's amazing. Having that eye-to-eye contact is a very, very important thing. And from that, people then vote with their feet. If they're going to invest in you, then you've got a fantastic idea. If you say I need to raise 50,000 Rand or 20,000 Rand for that, and 2 weeks into it, you're already three quarters of the way there, you've got a great idea and people are going to invest in you and buy your product. So it's not just about raising the cash. And a guy, Michael Norton actually put it, he said quite simply, he said, the funding is just the start. One of the most important and powerful things about crowdfunding is that you're building your audience. So before you even spend your first cent, okay, you've done the profile and stuff, you've got an idea as where the people are going to be inspired by what you're doing. Now, we all know raising cash, very important, but once you've raised the cash, what is the next most important thing? It's whether you're actually going to sell it, whether people are going to believe in what you're doing. And it's why we also, because there's various different crowdfunding models set up, it's why we went for the in-kind model. Because we know, first of all, if people give you cash, it's fantastic. Yay, that's very nice. It's a grant. There we are. Off you go. But that leads to inefficient spending. When you're just given cash, it's generally you go and have a drink. Well, okay. Some people might go and have a drink. But if people lend you the cash, we all know, as creatives, often it takes 2 or 3 times to get it right. So you've got a fantastic idea. You get out there. It wasn't the right time of market. It falls down. In South Africa, if you owe someone cash and you can't pay them back straight away, you get blacklisted, all the rest. It's not fun. I haven't had it myself, but I've had friends who it's happened to. It's not fun. So a lot of people then won't take the risks. So they say, hang on, I might have this, I might have a bit of cash, or I might be able to borrow it, but actually, I'm not quite sure whether this is going to be a huge success. I might have a wife, I might have a car to pay off, all that kind of stuff. So they just don't. There's a middle ground where you say, you know what? If you invest in me, I'll pay you back with my sweat. So that gives me the opportunity to use the resources that I have and I've built up over the years an experience, whether it's in furniture design or web design or in the performing arts on stage. I can use the product that I create from the investment in me to pay you back. How's that? In essence, you're just selling forward. It's we all talk about instant gratification these days. Well, this is delayed gratification, which some people might prefer, actually. That is why we've gone for what is called the in-kind dividend model. You invest, we will pay you back with the product from which we create. What it allows, and what we believe is going to really drive enterprise development and new ideas realization in SA, is the opportunity for people to test their ideas with accountability. Remember also that if you have one investor investing in you, that's great. If things go wrong, I'm really, really sorry. You might tell 5 of your friends. But that's hopefully where it'll stop. When 100 people have invested in you, and this is why it's very important, this goes through your mind. When 100 people invest in you, that's 100 pairs of eyes looking over your shoulder going, so dude, how are things going? I saw you had a drink last night. It keeps...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Counting the drinks and recording them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how many times that I've recorded what's going on here? No, the religions have understood it through the years. Why do you go to church? Because all the people go, nice to have you here, or the mosque, or the. Yeah, exactly. You're such a good boy, and they've shown through research that if you just have a pair of eyes in a room, just a painted pair of eyes, people are more honest. That's amazing. Just a pair of eyes. You always wonder why these dictators and head of states want their portrait on the wall. It's not because they think they look pretty, it's because they're watching you. But it does. It makes sense from both in terms of keeping you focused, but also when it comes to marketing. If you give someone cash, a week later, donation, wonderful cause, you walk away, you've forgotten about it. But when you're expecting a return, you're going to go to the launch, or you're going to be at the dance performance or at the theater performance because you got a ticket. You're going to be telling people about it. These guys are making this amazing pebble watch, or they're doing this incredible play. So you've got 2 months of running that campaign because it's over a set period, 60 days. That's it, 60 days. And at the end of it, when you launch, you have your first day performance. You have your first products out there. People are talking about it. They're champions. They want to know about it. They're expecting their product. So it's in their headspace. You've got your first audience. So it's a great, great way to do things. So we've now got accountability. We've got our initial marketing taken care of. We've raised cash without then being indebted to anyone. And the next thing is, you've launched your product. As I said, whether it's a book, performance, or iPhone app. The next stage is you then need to raise $1 million. What better way to show your potential to someone than to actually do it? You go with someone, you go with them to a business plan, you've got this fantastic idea, they look at you, they don't know you. Anyone can write a business plan and anyone can make financials sing. Well, okay, some people can make financials sing. No. But when they say, look, tell you what, you want $1 million to actually, to do your Pebble watches and stuff? Just do that first 100,000, or do that first 50. Put on that first dance performance. If you do that well, we'll watch you. We'll see how you perform. Do you send it out to your networks? Do you actually, do you deliver on time? What was the performance actually like? If it's great, then you say, oh, well, now we'll invest in you because we've actually seen you do it. So it's another fantastic way of you to test the idea for future investors. So basically, in SA, we'd say, well, the next thing is, in this room, we all know about this kind of stuff. But what about beyond this room? We've seen there's been a couple of sites that have tried to start up in South Africa, and none of them have cracked it as yet. And it's one of the reasons one of the key reasons we've looked at for that is because you have to access your networks. It's not just about you putting up there and saying, oh, okay, we'll see how that goes. Doesn't work. And it's not just about that platform saying, well, here we are, this is a platform. The platform is just a platform. It's up to the platform itself to market and build strategic relationships with guys like Creative Coffee, like CCDI, like the Fashion Council, like Panzer, like the Chamber of Commerce. Those kind of relationships. You're then building those networks which will then allow people to be exposed to your idea and get it out there and invest in you. The other side of it is the platform itself is a way for you to access your networks. So, the reason that Tim Green did so well, and another guy to mention is Stan Engelbrecht. Stan Engelbrecht and Nick Krobler. You know them? They did the bicycle portrait book. Again, yeah, it's phenomenal. They did that again through crowdfunding, again through Kickstarter, I forget exactly how much they raised. $35,000. $35,000. See, there we go. And this is the reason people within the audience space here will be able to respond to that is because it became a very public campaign. He accessed his networks. He didn't just sit there and assume someone was even Kickstarter was going to do it. He said for the first 3 weeks he was like emailing every flipping person he knew on the blower, phoning. I don't know how much he used Twitter, what he said straight up is this is about using a platform to access your networks to make something happen. So it's something to really be very cognizant if you're looking at crowdfunding for a new idea that you have, is that it's very much up to a joint mission between the platform itself and you as an individual. And that's probably one of the last things I'd like to mention here is that crowdfunding exposes you to a whole wide open world. It exposes your ideas to a whole world. So you don't go onto a crowdfunding platform if you are still incubating your idea right at the start. You put it up there when you already have a good idea as to how it's going to work, because now it's in the public domain. So there's always a question, if I don't do it, somebody else probably will now. But remember now, you are doing it because you've got your 60 days. So you put it up there when you know what you're doing. And the other side of that is People will invest in you if you are cool and you've got a great reputation. So it's one of the things I really inspires me about it is good people who have treated the people around them well will get funded. People who have been schmucklers and stuff, not so much. Eh? And with that, you can see how powerful this can be. Kickstarter last year, and I keep referring to Kickstarter just as a base point. They raised 724 million rand last year for over 11,000 projects. That gives you the idea of the scale that it can be done at. We're in South Africa, we're looking to raise slightly less. We're looking to raise 274 million rand over 4 years for around 5,200 projects. Through that, we're looking to create over 15,000 jobs. Where we're coming through in this space is we're saying this has phenomenal social impact. You know, when we talk about the guys like your millennials and stuff of the world who are rabble-rousing, they're rabble-rousing because people lack opportunities.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's up to us, people in this room who have incredible skills and ability to say, you know what, I can do something and create something that might employ a couple of people. And that's phenomenal. And that's why we see crowdfunding and thunderfund.com as one of the major ways, channels in which we can do this. And that is why we see it as one of the most exciting developments that can be happening in South Africa today. Thanks.